Hey guys, this is Kelsey with Kelsey Freeman Photography, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to be editing this picture. We're going to use Lightroom presets and some Photoshop actions. So I like to start off in Lightroom and kind of do my first base of the coloring and everything that I'm going to have here, and then we'll open into Photoshop. So I'm actually going to be using the Evoke collection Lightroom presets. So it's super easy to use if you've never used them before. You basically just hover over any of the presets and check out right here to see how it looks in the preview. But I am going to be running Brenly, so I'm just going to click on it and it's going to do all the work for me. And I am going to do a few little tweaks just to make it perfect exactly how I want it. So I'm really happy with the white balance. I think it looks really good. But I do want to bring the exposure down a little bit. And I also want to take away the saturation. The preset, I kind of made it a little on the desaturated side, but I really want to bring out that color for this picture. So I'm going to also bring up the vibrance a good bit. I really want this picture to pop with color. Let's see here. What else do I want to do? I want to scroll on down and bring up the sharpening just a tad. Now, these aren't things that you have to do. You can just kind of do whatever you want when you're editing, but I want to make this image pretty sharp, but I also am going to bring up the luminance a little bit, and what this is going to do in the noise reduction is it's going to make it like really creamy and soft looking. Maybe even a little more than that. And then last thing, this preset also has some grain on it to give it some texture and detail, but I don't want any on this picture. I want it really soft and smooth looking. And let's see here. I think the only other thing I want to do, maybe bring down the blacks a little bit just to add a little bit more of a contrast look going on. But other than that, I think that's really good. So I'm going to export this and open it up in Photoshop. Okay, so now that I've got this opened up in Photoshop, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to rotate this just a tad so that she looks a little more level. So I'm going to click here on my crop tool and just rotate it a tad so that she looks a bit more level, and probably going to bring it over just a tad, like so, and I'm going to hit enter. And I like that so much more. So the first thing I like to do is typically work on the face. There's one little thing I see right here. It's just a little blue patch. So before I work on any edits, I'm going to click the spot healing brush and just click over there just to kind of make that match the rest of the background. There was something blue back there. But I want to work on her face first, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I'm going to use the Wander Collection Photoshop Actions. I'm going to scroll on down to the facial retouching section. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to click Overall Brighten and press play. And it just lets you know what kind of brush you want to use, the opacity, all that. So I'm going to grab a paintbrush, and I'm going to make sure I've got a white foreground color. And then my opacity, I'm going to make it about, I don't know, maybe like 30 or so. Okay, so I'm going to just brush on top of her face just to make it a little bit brighter. And you want to flatten once you run any of these skin actions. So you can flatten on your own, or you can click the flatten for me action. It'll do all that for you. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth the skin, press play. Again, they all just want to let you know what kind of brush to use. So I'm going to make my brush a good bit smaller here. My opacity, I don't know, I'm probably going to use 40% on my brush. And then I'm just going to brush over her face, making sure to avoid places like the lips, the edge of her face where like it, over her jawline. You don't want to get anywhere like there, because then it's just going to make it look super soft, as if maybe you missed focus or something, or it'll just look really photoshopped, like you totally went overboard. So try to avoid any places like the eyes, eyebrows, things like that. And I'm also going to run over her hands a little bit. I kind of overdid it, so I'm just going to, there we go. Just kind of go over her hands a little bit, and then I'm going to flatten, so flatten for me action. And then I'm going to do eye detail. This one's like my favorite action to use. I use it on eyes, mouth, and eyebrows, and I actually use 100% opacity on my brush when I use it. I just go over the eyes, and you see, sharpens them up, just really makes them pop, and it just makes your image look that much more clear and just super sharp when the eyes look like this, like super clear. All right, so I'm going to zoom on out here, and then I'm going to flatten this, and I'm also going to run skin contour. Press play. I think I want to use maybe like 50% opacity on this brush. You know what? Let's try like 80% because I think, yeah, I like that much better. All right, so 80% opacity here. And then let me show you what that did. So you see it just really kind of added some contour to her face. I might actually just bump this up to 100 and just brush 100 on her face because that looks really good. I'm going to flatten it. And then I think the last thing I want to do is run Skin Pop and press play. And this opacity, I'm probably going to use like, I don't know, 50%. And I'm actually going to brush it over her hair as well. I just love what Skin Pop does to hair. I pretty much always add it on to the hair. And then I'm going to put it on top of this hand and just the top of that hand where I want to brighten it up a little bit. Okay, so let me flatten this, and I'm going to show you guys the difference already and what that's done to her face. Doesn't it look a million times better already before we even get started? Okay, so now let me zoom on out here so I can like see really clearly. I'm going to start off with kind of doing a few things to the background and to her hair. I'm going to click Control J on my keyboard, and what this is going to do is it's going to duplicate my background layer because I want to fluff out her hair a little bit, but I also don't want to go overboard. So if I do go overboard, I can have my original background to revert back to. So anyway, I'm just going to click here on my top layer, which is going to be the hair, and I'm going to click Filter, and then we're going to click on Liquify. Okay. Sorry, I had to mute my computer. My notifications are going off. All right, so all I want to do is I'm just going to click right here on the forward warp tool. I don't want to use anything else over here. I'm just going to zoom in, make my brush a little smaller, and I'm just going to very lightly start bringing this hair out a little bit. You don't want to go overboard so that it looks like you really did something to the hair, but it just looks so good when you make the hair look like it's got even more volume. I just love it. So just a little bit at a time, just really try to emphasize those curls if your model or your client has curls. But just trying to bring it out a little bit. Again, you definitely don't want to go overboard. And I don't like to go too high on the top because then it can definitely look like you've been playing around a little bit. And the goal is to emphasize it without looking like it's been photoshopped. So just a little bit here, and then I'm going to kind of bring some of these out a little more. Let me undo that one. That one may have been too much. It's just like so. I'll bring that in just to emphasize those curls and bring it out here. So just play around with it. Every picture is different. Just depends on what kind of look exactly you're going for. But I definitely want to add some volume here to her hair. So maybe right about there. Let me zoom out. I think I like it. So here's the before and the after. And I just added some volume without going crazy. And I'm going to press OK. And now I can just flatten this. I just like to have the original to go back to in case I messed up or something. But I like how that looks. Okay, let's go ahead and let's, I kind of want to blur the background a little bit in this image. So I'm in the Wander collection. Down at the bottom in your extras section, there's an action, there's blur the background a little and a lot. And I'm going to do a lot and press play and give it just a second to run. And it's going to tell you what to do. So you're just going to want to grab a soft white brush at 100% opacity. With this action, you never want to use less or it'll look really fake. So I'm just going to start blurring out this background here. Like so. I'm just going for like a super, super dramatic kind of dreamy edit here. Like so. Now I'm getting it close to her. You know what? Let me undo that. I don't like that part. Now I got it really close to her. And what I want to do now is just kind of go through with a black brush now and just kind of go around any of her edges and just remove that blur from right around the edges. Like so. And another thing is you want to make sure you follow your focal plane. So you don't want to add a lot of blur right here where everything's in focus. Let me go ahead and get back to my white here. And I'm going to add a little bit here along the bottom, like that. But yeah, you want to pay attention to your focal plane and make sure you're not blurring anything that wouldn't be blurred in the image. You know, had you use like a 200 millimeter lens or something to really get that bokeh going on, you have to pay attention to where your focal plane is. That way it makes sense, you know, because if I go in and blur all this on the ground, that doesn't look realistic. You need like a in focus focal point across the bottom of the ground. So just a nice little blur going on here in the background, and I'm going to flatten. Wait, let me make sure real quick that this part got blurred, because part of me thinks, yeah, there we go. I thought that may have been missed. All right, and then I need to, oopsie, I need to take care of, I totally should added a pin shape. Let me go back to my layer mask, zoom in here, and remove it from that edge. All right, cool beans. So I think we're good to flatten this. And now we can kind of get started on the actual picture. So I'm going to scroll up here. Let's go to the Wander collection, and I'm going to run Jade just to kind of add some nice coloring to her face. I'm not going to really apply this to the whole image, just to her face. I'm going to press play. And I do like what it does to the picture, but I really want to keep the warmth in the background and in her dress. So I'm going to lower this to about 60 or so. And I'm going to invert this layer mask here. And when I do this, you see it hides the entire action. So it kind of looks like we didn't do anything. But we just hit the action. And now I'm going to brush it on where I want. So I'm going to use a white paintbrush at 100% opacity. And I'm just going to brush it on top of her face and of her hair and the white part of her dress. Like so. Let's brush it on down here. Alright, so we've got all the white, all the hair, all her face, and her hands. And I really just love what that does to skin. So I'm happy with that. The only thing is I kind of went a little outside where I want to on her hair area. So I'm going to click my black brush again and just kind of go around where I kind of went a little too far outside. There we go. Love, love, love. That looks so good. So now I'm going to come on down. I want to use some actions in the Arden collection. I'm going to scroll down to the tone add-ons, and I think I want to run Robin. So I'm going to press play, and it's going to give me a really nice brown color, but I want to lower the opacity quite a bit because I don't want it too crazy dark. So I do like how that looks. But I actually may want to use a different one instead, one that's got a little bit more brown. I may want to do Raven. So let me play that. Yeah, I think I like how that looks better than Robin. I'm going to delete Robin, and we're going to use Raven here. Let me lower the opacity a little bit. And then I want to play probably Grove. Yes, 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 yes. It gives me a lot of warmth that I want. And this opacity, I'm going to lower this a little bit to maybe about there. Okay. So I'm liking how that looks. Let me show you guys before and the after so far. Looks nice and warm. And let's see here. Let's add on some brushes just to really like add a nice soft whimsical look around the edges. All right, so down here, if you scroll on down, you've got some brush on effects. I'm probably going to do one of these browns. I'm not sure. I'll try brush on dark brown first. I'm going to get myself a paintbrush, and I'm going to make sure I have a white paintbrush, and I'm going to make the opacity 50% on my brush. I use my keyboard just to press the number. I I press 5 for 50%, but you can also come up here and scroll. So let me see how this looks. So this is what the dark brown looks like on this picture. I may hide that and see how it looks to do soft brown and vibrant brown. Okay, so I'm probably definitely going to use soft brown for some. Let me check out vibrant brown and see how that looks on this picture as well. Okay, so I'm going to keep it with, for sure, soft brown, and I'll add on a little bit of dark. But first, I'm going to do soft. So I'm going to click on soft brown, and I'm going to click play, and it'll tell you, you want to get a soft brush. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and make my brush a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to kind of come around here from the side and just brush along the outsides like so. And then I'm probably going to do maybe a hint of green. Let me see how it looks to do brush on soft green in the trees. I may not like it. Just depends. Yeah, let me not do that. It kind of looks, for this image, because I have so much yellow going on in the trees, I may not do that one. Let's see here. Let's try. In the Wander collection, I have a bunch of brushes too. So maybe I'll want to do one of these instead. I really love the soft brown vignette in the Wander collection. I use it on pretty much every image. It's like a nice neutral brown. And I'm going to come in here and kind of do like one big swoop just to get some softness going around the edges there. Yeah, I really like how that looks. Okay, so let me zoom out here. I'm kind of going to try to get like an overall view of how this is looking so far. So here's the before and the after. Let's see here. Let's also, I'm going to raise this opacity up on this layer. Let me see how it looks to raise up the soft brown as well. Yeah, I like that. Another thing you can do is like soft brown ground, and it'll add a nice bit of brown to the bottom. Or you can do, let me try soft black and see how that looks. I'm not sure which one I like. Let's see here. This is what I do all the time, you guys. I just come in here and like mess around. I have no idea exactly what I'm going for. I just play around until I find something I like. So that's black. We'll do with brown. I'm not feeling the black for this one. Okay. So let's see here. What if I do like a soft green vignette? Press play. And make the brush a little smaller. Maybe 30% opacity. Just see how it looks to add a little bit of green back into here. Make it really soft looking. I like that. Alright, now what I want to do is get a nice pretty sun going on in here. So I'm going to go down to the Arden collection and go down to my light add-ons, and I'm going to click on Go to Sun, and I'm going to bring it maybe about here and probably lower the opacity somewhere around there. I don't want it to be like overkill in this picture. And let's see here. Let me add on a little bit of a color pop. Not too much. I'm going to lower the opacity for sure. Maybe about there. All right. So I'm liking how this looks. Let me get the before, the totally before, so we can kind of compare and see how it's looking. Okay, so here is the total before, like before Lightroom and skin edits and all of that, and after. So you can see there's a really big difference. I'm liking it. So I want to add a little bit more like dreaminess around the bottom edges. So I'm actually not even going to use an action for this. I'm going to zoom out. I've made a new layer. Just by clicking this, it looks like a square with like a folded up edge on the corner. And I'm going to grab my paintbrush. I want it pretty big. Now my opacity, I'm probably going to do pretty high. And then I'm going to grab a dark color from the shadows. I want to kind of keep it on the neutral side. And I'm just going to brush along the bottom like so. And then I'm going to remove it from the dress a little bit. So I'm going to add a layer mask. So I've got my layer clicked, selected, that has the vignette that we just kind of added on. I'm going to click on this layer mask button right here. It's the white square with the circle on the inside. And I'm going to grab a black paintbrush and probably use like a, I don't know, higher opacity. I'm going to make my brush small. And I'm just going to brush over my dress just to remove some of that darkness from that brush that we just added on. And I'm just going to kind of brush this in because that soft brush really was really soft. It kind of went really high up on my dress. So just kind of getting rid of that. And out here to the edge. Ta-da! Okay. So it's got like a really nice soft kind of feel. Like it. And I think that's probably good. I don't know there's much more that I want to do to this picture. It's nice and dreamy. The soft edges kind of pull you in. The only other thing I may do is add a little bit of black to the outside. Let's do that before I call it a day. I'm going to make my brush really big. I'm going to get like a really dark neutral color here. And I'm going to use maybe 40% opacity. I'm just going to brush it around the outside. Like so, and maybe this top corner. There. It kind of frames the picture a little more and draws your eyes inward. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Super quick, easy edit. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Okay, bye.